Kill the simulation. Now! I was screaming, my secondary mandibles clicking in a frantic rhythm that usually only happened during a hull breach. The control room of the Galactic Defense Academy was bathed in the harsh, rhythmic strobes of a Level 5 emergency. On the primary view screen, a small creature was trapped in a nightmare. Maya Blackwood, a human barely reaching my chest height, stood in the center of the abyssal mock combat simulator. Surrounding her were 3 holographic void predators, creatures designed by the greatest military minds in the Zephyrian Empire to trigger primal, paralyzing terror in any biological life form. "Sir, the override isn't responding," my assistant chattered, his carapace rattling against his console. "Instructor Malhar has locked the biofeedback loops. He set the difficulty to lethal pursuit. I looked at the data feed and felt my primary stomach turn. The difficulty wasn't just high, it was impossible. The predators were moving at speeds that should have been a blur to human eyes. These were monsters that had sent battle-hardened Saurian berserkers to the psychiatric ward. But Maya Blackwood wasn't screaming. She wasn't even running. She was standing perfectly still in a low, balanced crouch. Her heart rate, which should have been spiking toward a cardiac event, was actually slowing down. 12 seconds, I whispered, watching her eyes on the high-definition zoom. She's been in there for 12 seconds and she hasn't blinked. Then, it happened. The first predator lunged, a massive teeth and shadow designed to strike from a blind spot. Maya didn't look. She shifted 2 inches to the left, caught the creature's ethereal throat with a hand that looked like soft clay compared to our armored claws, and used the monster's own momentum to slam it into the second attacker. The simulation flickered. The AI logic was failing because it couldn't calculate a response to a prey animal that didn't act like prey. "She's not fighting them," my assistant gasped, his forearms frozen over his keyboard. She's solving them. This was never supposed to happen. The Galactic Defense Academy had a 200-cycle reputation for breaking the galaxy's most dangerous recruits and rebuilding them into Zephyrian-style soldiers. We were the apex. Our methods were firm but fair, which usually meant a steady diet of pain, sleep deprivation, and psychological crushing. When the humans arrived, we laughed. They had no natural armor. No venom. No thermal vision. Commander Vexerin had joked that they were dangerously soft. Instructor Thex Malhar, a 7-foot-tall wall of blue-black chitin and 4-armed military perfection, had taken a personal interest in the human female. He had spent a week trying to find her breaking point. He'd doubled her gravity. He'd cut her rations. He'd forced her to run until the Terracon rock warriors in her unit literally cracked from exhaustion. Maya Blackwood had simply kept running. She didn't complain. She didn't ask for mercy. She just watched Malhar with steady, unnervingly green eyes. That was what broke him. The silence. By the 5th day, the betting pools among the staff had shifted. We weren't betting on when the humans would quit anymore. We were betting on how long it would take for Instructor Malhar to lose his mind. Again. Malhar's voice boomed over the comms, sounding ragged and frantic. "Recalibrate the sensors. The human is cheating. Increase gravity to 15 units. Sir, 15 units will crush her skeletal structure." I shouted into the intercom. "She is a Deathworlder, isn't she?" Malhar hissed, his face pressed against the observation glass. "Let's see her endurance now." The gravity surged. I felt the pull even in the shielded control booth. On the floor of the Sin chamber, Maya's knees buckled for a split second. Her face flushed a deep, angry red. Sweat, that bizarre human cooling mechanism, poured off her skin. But she didn't fall. She adjusted her stance. She braced her core. And then, she looked up at the observation window. She looked directly at Malhar. She smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was the baring of teeth. A display of white, blunt bone that reminded me humans weren't just mammals, they were pursuit predators from a world that tried to kill them every single day. She's compensating for the gravity by timing the predator's attacks, my assistant whispered in awe. She's using the increased weight to pivot faster on her heels. Sir, the AI can't keep up. She's breaking the simulation's logic gate. The three void predators lunged simultaneously. It was a kill strike. Maya moved in a blur of motion that defied the crushing gravity. She didn't use a weapon. She used her hands, her elbows, and the sheer, stubborn density of her body. In 3 seconds, the holographic monsters exploded into pixels. The chamber fell silent. The red emergency lights bathed the room in a bloody glow. Maya Blackwood stood in the center of the room, her chest heaving, her skin slick with sweat, staring at the ceiling. Instructor Malhar stepped back from the glass. His 4 hands were trembling. He was the most decorated combat instructor in the sector, a master of 18 different martial forms, and he was visibly shaking at the sight of a 130-pound primate. Check the logs, Malhar commanded, his voice a pathetic squeak. The targeting system must be misaligned. No creature with 2 arms can move like that. It's physically impossible. I pulled up the biological data on the main screen for everyone in the control room to see. It's not a malfunction, instructor. It's persistence hunting. I pointed to the scan of Maya's muscular and nervous system. Humans didn't evolve to be the strongest. They evolved to be the thing that stays awake until the strong things get tired. They are built to absorb stress, repair on the fly, and refuse to stop. We've been trying to break her spirit, but her spirit is the only thing keeping her body together. You can't break a machine that's designed to run on spite. The door to the simulation chamber hissed open. Maya walked out, wiping sweat from her forehead with a tattered sleeve. She walked right up to the observation deck where the instructors were gathered. The alien recruits, the crystal beings, the rock warriors, the aquatic Mullins all backed away, clearing a path like she was a high-explosive device. Maya stopped in front of Instructor Malhar. The 7-foot-tall Zephyrian loomed over her, but for the first time in Academy history, he looked small. Instructor, Maya said, her voice raspy but calm. Malhar's mandibles twitched. Yes, recruit? The gravity in Sector 4 felt a little light toward the end, she said, her green eyes locked onto his. If you're trying to simulate a real Deathworld, you're going to need to try a lot harder than that. She turned and walked toward the barracks, her 4 human teammates falling in line behind her with a terrifying, rhythmic discipline. I looked at the betting pool on my tablet. The odds for human graduation had been deleted. In their place was a new wager started by the other instructors. I put 50 credits on the humans taking over the academy by the end of the month. Commander Vexerin was wrong. Humans aren't dangerous because their planet is hard to live on. They are dangerous because they are the only species in the galaxy that thinks a nightmare is a puzzle to be solved. As the humans disappeared down the hall, my assistant finally spoke. Sir? Should I schedule the next training cycle? I watched the screen where the unbeatable void predators were still struggling to reboot their shattered AI. No, I said, leaning back in my chair. I think the humans just finished the curriculum. We're just the ones waiting for the grade.